The girl had simply gone on a vacation to the beach with her family, but as soon as they arrived, they made a strange discovery. A massive cargo ship was heading straight for the beach. At first, they thought the ship would surely turn away. But in the blink of an eye, it was right in front of them. The father was instantly stunned. He quickly grabbed the children and told them to run for their lives. Although the ship eventually ran aground on the beach, the family narrowly escaped disaster. Little did they know that the real nightmare had only just begun. When they returned to their home and tried to look up the cause of the accident online, they discovered that their home internet was down. Although the man found this very strange, seeing his children playing in the pool, he didn't give the internet outage much thought. He assumed the internet would be back up soon. Since the house had no internet, the children went to bed early that night, while the couple sat in the living room, bored, playing with building blocks. But what they didn't expect was the sudden sound of someone knocking at the door. It was 11 p.m. and since it was their first night in this vacation town, they assumed the knocker must be a criminal. So Clay grabbed a stick, only to discover that the knockers were two black people. After talking with them, they learned that George was the owner of the villa. They had come all the way from the city because the city had lost both internet and power, and their cell phones had completely lost signal. So they had come to this old house in the suburbs to take shelter. As a cool breeze began to blow outside, Clay had no choice but to invite the father and daughter inside. George, however, said they wanted to stay the night. Upon hearing this, Amanda refused on the spot, since they had already rented the villa, and she felt unsafe living with strangers. She said she would file a complaint against them. To their surprise, George didn't get angry at all. Instead, he pulled out a stack of cash and handed it to Clay. Just then, a commotion suddenly erupted from the TV. Only then did they realize George had been telling the truth. The entire country was currently experiencing internet and power outages, and so, the father and daughter were allowed to stay. However, they were assigned to the villa's basement. This gesture revealed that the couple were good people. As soon as dawn broke the next day, Amanda was woken up by her daughter. It turned out that day was the finale of Friends, but the TV at home still had no signal. So she hoped her dad would come up with a solution quickly, but Clay fiddled with it for ages without any success. Seeing his daughter getting increasingly frustrated, Clay had no choice but to head into town to find an internet technician. Little did he know that from that moment on, a series of eerie events would begin to unfold. As he drove toward the small town, he noticed not a single car on the road. It was as if everyone had vanished into thin air. Just as he was feeling a tinge of unease, a woman suddenly appeared ahead, waving at him. Clay intended to ask her for directions, but she lunged at him like a madwoman, babbling incessantly in an incomprehensible language to avoid getting himself into trouble. A terrified Clay slammed on the gas and sped away. Meanwhile, due to the internet outage, George at the villa could no longer sit still. He drove alone to his friend's house, remembering that his friend had a satellite phone there. Perhaps the satellite phone could help him contact the outside world. When he arrived at his friend's house, however, he found it in complete disarray, as if it had been ransacked. Moreover, his friend wasn't home at the time. Fortunately, after a quick search, he was lucky enough to find the satellite phone. But just as he was about to dial for help, he discovered that the satellite phone had no signal either. To figure out exactly what had happened here, George walked straight to the back of the house and unexpectedly spotted a familiar watch on the beach. Curious, he walked over to pick it up, but the next second, he pulled out an arm instead. This startled him instantly. It wasn't until he turned around that he realized the beach was littered with bodies and plane wreckage. Clearly, a major plane crash had occurred here. But before he could recover from his panic, another plane was hurtling straight toward the beach. Meanwhile, Clay also encountered something strange. He noticed a plane in the sky that kept scattering a red substance onto the road. Realizing something was wrong, Clay quickly jerked the steering wheel and fled in the opposite direction. But his speed was no match for the plane's, and he was soon caught up by it. Only then did he see clearly that it was a red leaflet. By this time, George had returned to the house. He told everyone what had happened to him. He believed the satellite had been hijacked by some unknown force. Otherwise, the satellite phone wouldn't have lost signal, and the plane wouldn't have gone out of control for no reason. Before everyone could even process what had happened, a strange noise suddenly echoed through the sky. Amanda rushed out of the house, because her son and daughter were still in the woods. She was determined to find the children, even if it cost her life. But just then, the eerie sound abruptly stopped. None of them knew what had caused the noise. Perhaps this place was no longer safe. Just then, Clay, who had been out, returned home, holding a red flyer in his hand. He said the flyer had been dropped from an airplane, but it was written in a language they couldn't understand. Just as everyone was baffled, her son suddenly recognized a line of text on it.
Death to America. Death to America. I don't know what the rest of this means, but this part, it definitely means death to America. I remember from a game I was playing.
With no time to think, they had no choice but to pack their bags and prepare to flee. But unexpectedly, shortly after they left their home, they suddenly encountered a massive traffic jam. Amanda had intended to go check what was going on, but discovered there wasn't a single living soul in any of the cars. It wasn't until she saw the flyers inside the vehicles that she realized something was terribly wrong. Sure enough, when she looked up, another Tesla was barreling straight toward them. Amanda quickly ran to her car. These electric cars seemed to be following some kind of command, all crashing into the traffic jam. Fortunately, Amanda was driving fast, so they made their way back to George's villa, but the strange occurrences didn't stop there. Late at night, when all was quiet, a flock of flamingos suddenly appeared in the pool. Early the next morning, the eldest son felt a strange discomfort in his tooth. He gave it a gentle tug, and to his shock, the tooth came out easily. This moment left him panicked and distraught, but there was nothing he could do, since the roads were completely blocked by the electric cars. Watching his eldest son grow weaker by the minute, George suddenly remembered a friend of his, who had stockpiled a large amount of supplies some time ago. There should be some medicine there that the boy needed, but just then, Clay's daughter mysteriously went missing. Amanda had no choice but to go into the forest to look for her daughter, while George took Clay to borrow the medicine. Little did they know that when their friend saw George, he suddenly came out holding a hunting rifle. George had no choice but to explain that Clay's son had contracted a strange illness and was losing almost all his teeth. But the man knew exactly what was going on the moment he heard it. He said it must have been caused by last night's microwave weapons. It turned out he'd heard from others a while back that a similar situation had occurred in Cuba. Everyone there had lost all their teeth, reportedly due to radiation from microwave weapons. George hoped his friend would lend them some medicine, but the friend didn't want to get involved at all. If the apocalypse really came, no one would survive. Hearing this, Clay quickly pulled out some cash, hoping the man would sell him some medicine, but his offer was flatly refused. No amount of money would help now. The man immediately raised his gun and ordered the two to leave. Seeing this, George also raised his pistol. Clay rushed forward to stop them. He explained that the roads out of town were already blocked. His daughter was missing, and now his son was gravely ill, so he was completely at a loss. He begged the man to save his son. Seeing that Clay's plea was sincere, the man gave him a bottle of anti-inflammatory medicine. As soon as he got the medicine, he made his son swallow it. Meanwhile, Amanda had also arrived in the forest, searching everywhere for her missing daughter. But after searching for a long time, she found nothing. Just then, she suddenly noticed that Ruth was standing motionless in the same spot, as if she had witnessed something terrifying. It wasn't until she followed Ruth's gaze that she realized a mushroom cloud had already risen over the city across the river, accompanied by explosions and gunfire. It was clear that the city would soon be reduced to ruins. Meanwhile, in a luxurious estate deep within the forest, a little girl pulled open a heavy steel door. This place was none other than the legendary Doomsday Bunker. The bunker was equipped with water recycling and air purification systems, powered by solar panels and diesel generators. Naturally, there was also an ample supply of food. It was practically a paradise on Earth. Even better, the bunker was stocked with countless DVDs, including the little girl's favorite show, Friends, so she nonchalantly sat down on the sofa and began watching the finale of Friends, which she had been waiting to see. And with that, the film ends.